Hi, everyone. Welcome back to How to Write the Future podcast. I'm your host, Beth Barany, and I am a science fiction and fantasy writer and writing coach, teacher, editor, and filmmaker. I run this podcast because I'm very interested in talking to authors and futurists and other people who care about the future because I believe with our stories, we can help people reshape how they think of what could be possible. And my big focus is on helping us be new humans. How can we change the way we interact with others and also with ourselves? And my focus is on positive, optimistic futures because why not? Our creativity is incredible. Why not use it to create worlds and relationships that would benefit all of us, everybody, and all living creatures on this planet? So I'm very excited today to bring to you a special guest, an author, a fantasy novelist, Kathryn Nelson. Kathryn, welcome. So glad you could be here.
Lovely. Thank you for having me.
And I understand you're calling in from Northern Ireland. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. It's quite warm over here actually at the moment. Not too bad.
I'm in the foggy San Francisco Bay Area this morning. So, with the magic of technology, we can connect in real time. It's so wonderful. So, everyone, I'm going to read to you a little bit about Kathryn so you can get to know her, and then we're going to dive into our interview. So, Kathryn Nelson is a writer of honest fantasy, genuine heroines, and wellness wisdom. She lives in Northern Ireland with her husband, an Irish red setter, and spends her time sitting at a sunny desk overlooking her wild garden when writing every day. She enjoys long walks in the hills and by the coast, whilst conjuring dragons from the sky, questing for selkie in the sea, and conversing with fairies in the woods. What a beautiful bio. Welcome again, Kathryn. So glad you could be here. And I'm really excited to talk to you about, I know something we have in common with our fiction is featuring strong, interesting women in the leading role. That's so
Yeah,
wonderful.
definitely.
Yeah, so good. So you obviously bring your Irish ness to all that you create. I could just tell from your bio. So I was wondering if you could answer for us, how can the fantasy genre provide a unique perspective on issues close to home?
I think the fantasy genre is really interesting because you can make up these kind of different worlds, and there could be different magic and different organizations for society and whole new planets. And then you can get this whole different perspective at issues close to home. So I write about social change and parenting and family stuff and relationships. And it's set in this fantasy world. And at one point, they go and visit the ice giants, and their whole society is a matriarchy. So it's just kind of this really interesting what if question, I think. Fantasy and sci-fi as well is really good kind of vehicle for those sorts of questions.
I totally agree. That's wonderful. And is it the ice giants that are matriarchal?
Yeah, they've got a matriarchy, but also it's more of like an anarchy, but like in the best sort of way. They've got this rule which is do what you want and you take personal responsibility for your actions. Yeah, some interesting consequences for the story kind of progression. And then the main characters come from what was starts off in the story as like a military tyranny, dictatorship, and then it transitions into a monarchy. And then she visits the neighboring country, and then more of kind of a communist style government going on. And then she goes and visits the ice giants and lives with kind of other society, and how she can then take those lessons back to her country.
I really love that. I'm doing something similar in my science fiction space station mystery series where my main character gets to see different kinds of societies, but I'm doing it one book at a time. Why, in your opinion, do you think we need to see real people navigating living in these fantasy worlds?
I think it's really important because they're role models, they're archetypes. And certainly for me, like I find like I'm influenced by what these characters do in this situation. Okay, I'm going to behave like them because I really admire them and what they do. And I just see a lot of not very good role models sometimes in popular culture, not just books, but kind of culture in general. And I just find it really nice. Part of the reason that I like writing is because sometimes like bad stories are more inspiring for me because I'm like, oh, that's so annoying. Like, I really want to like retell that story in a better way, where the woman's got more of a voice. That is, yeah, just a better role model. It annoys me when women then either like really wimpy, or they can go for like a week with like no food and no sleep, and then we like fight a big battle at the end. It's like when I was reading that stuff as a teenager, I'd be like, oh, I'm not like that. That's just not realistic.
Yeah, yeah. And then it's like there's no way that you could ever aspire to that because it's completely unrealistic to how real people operate. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're trying to learn like navigate relationships as well, and if there's examples of bad relationships for the sake of drama or the sake of the story, but they're actually modeling really poor behavior, and that sets up then your expectations for the relationships you have in real life. It's just, yeah, it's not helpful.
Yeah. So you're really pointing to something that I really love also about stories is that using your stories to model the best of humanity, even inside of a fantastical setting. I love that.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I don't like anything too dark. There's enough dark stuff going on in the world. Like there's gonna be a bit of drama, a bit of adventure, a bit of excitement, but yeah, definitely a happy ending. I've been reading a lot of cozy fantasy recently, which is just really nice. Just like people being nice to each other, nice things happening. It's just really, yeah, nice.
I've read a few cozy fantasies. I really enjoyed them. I do read a lot of cozy mysteries. My favorite are the cozy mystery fantasies, putting that all together.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. And this really segues us to the next question, which is how can fiction that explores solutions inspire a brighter future?
I think it's what we've been talking about, some like role models, about all those what if questions. I wrote a series of short stories a while ago, not published, but just as like thought exercises about kind of environmental problems and visioning what would those solutions look like. So about growing food in cities and rewilding rivers, and what would our neighborhoods. At the time, there was a lot of talk about, oh, you can't do this and you've got to do that, and all like real negative stuff, all doom and gloom stuff. And I was like, well, let's think about what this could look like and try and do it in like a really positive way, because what you're imagining is what's going to happen.
I so agree. You're reminding me of this movement that people are creating art in called Throughtopia. Are you familiar with
Oh,
Throughtopia?
oh, I heard the phrase the other day.
It was coined by, I believe, an activist who, and then I learned it from Amanda Scott, who's a writer, a British writer, who then taught a wonderful class that I was a part of a few years ago, where writers are and other artists are using their creativity and imagination to write stories about what if positive environmental change and how do we, not utopia, which is when everything is all worked out, but how do we get there? How do we go through the present moment into the kind of world we want to create? So, how do people come and work together? How do collectives make decisions to benefit the community? I watch a lot of YouTube, so I watch videos about, oh, look, they took a plain golf course and they turned it, they rewilded it. Oh, look how they did that, and look what happened. So, showing positive stories and how the collective comes together to make the decision, and then the positive impact that has, and how that's happening now, or it could happen tomorrow. And so showing us the steps that we can take to make these bigger changes that affect the communities that we live in. Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and amazing how stories can help show that way.
Yeah, I love it. So those are some short stories that you wrote that you haven't published yet?
Yes. But those sorts of themes are weaved through my novels as well. It talks about free healthcare and like healthier family dynamics, and the main character eventually ends up on like the governing committee in the country, and she's like the first woman to do that, the female voices up on those higher levels of management. So yeah, those sorts of things are.
Oh, that's wonderful. I really love that. And that brings us to this next question, which is why is creating healthy role models for women crucial in 2025 and beyond? We'll start with where we are right now.
I think there can be a lot of negativity like in the news and in terms of what you engage with, but I think it's just what we've been saying, isn't it, about those positive stories, positive role models, not to like completely ignore see less positive stuff that's going on, and not to, go to acknowledge that at the same time. That's also part of the story. But it's about, I think it's, where your, what's the phrase? Where your attention goes is where your energy flows. Is that the phrase? Like that's, what you focus on, what you look at. I saw in your bio you talk about neurolinguistic programming, like the words that you use and how you talk, that self-talk and how you talk to other people. Like it's all so important. And if we want to go in a more positive direction and see healthier, we need those role model stories which can help us navigate that journey.
That's beautiful. I love seeing your books behind you. And I was wondering if you could give us the short back of the book blurb about your series, about book one, to entice people to check out your books.
Yeah, I'd like Gems and Giants series. There's 4 books in ebook, paperback, and audio. Syria is married to the High Commander, who's taken the throne away from the king and is holding the country in a grip of military tyranny. And she is kidnapped by the monarchist rebel who's hoping to turn her to his cause. And they go on an adventure. And so that's book 1. And then the next books are set all kind of a year apart. So you kind of see the main characters' relationship develop. You see how the country is changing, the themes of mental health and women's rights, social justice. There's magical gems. There's ice giants, elves. Yeah, all the good things. Book 1 is free if you sign up for my newsletter. So if you go to my website and sign up for the newsletter, so you can check it out.
Oh, that's wonderful. And so tell us your website link.
So it's kathrynnelsonwriter.com.
Beautiful. I encourage everyone to check it out. I will definitely check it out. And as we wrap up today, is there anything else that you would like to talk about or bring up or say as we wrap up our interview?
No, I think that's covered everything. It was lovely talking to you. I feel like we've got quite a lot in common and different, similar themes in our writing.
Absolutely. And I love that you're dealing with mental health issues. I'm actually working on a TV series that I want to bring out mental health issues in a way that the group is handling well. So I love that you're doing that. And I present strong women as my main characters in all my stories because role models, we need role models. Yeah, so this is wonderful. I just want to thank you so much, Kathryn. I hope that this was a good first interview. I know we all have to start somewhere, and I definitely would love to hear more about you and your work as it evolves. So we'll definitely have to have you back. And that's it. And I just want to thank you again for being a guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, that's so great. All right, everyone, that's it for this week. Write long and prosper.